I'll take you back to the Middle East if there are developments in the next hour, and I'm sure Sherry Markson will have updates in her program after us as well. So back home now, as I said at the beginning of the program, the PM, Anthony Albanese, has pushed back on claims Australia is being sidelined by global allies like the United States. He was speaking on Sky News exclusively today. He addressed growing concerns around international security. This is all before the ceasefire fell over, mind you. Regional evacuations and Australia's terror threat level. Now, he was asked by Kieran Gilbert if Australia is now, quote, the forgotten ally after Donald Trump gave advance notice to the UK but did not ring Australia. The PM was quick to reject that idea. Here he is.
President Trump did give advance notice to Keir Starmer, not to you. He left the G7, didn't give you a heads up. Are we the forgotten ally at the moment?
Not at all. I met with President Trump's key economic advisors on the sidelines of the G7.
And I mentioned the evacuations from the conflict zone. The Prime Minister admitted that security issues had disrupted those plans. Well, they're going to get worse with this latest development over the last couple of hours of more missiles out of Iran. But he said a ceasefire, which now looks like falling over, could change that. Well, there's one thing he got right.
You've said that keeping Australians safe in the region is your top priority. What is being done to get people out of the zone?
It has been made more difficult by what has occurred. There was a scheduled flight out of Israel that wasn't able to be fulfilled because of the security situation. What we hope is that a more secure position, a ceasefire, will ensure that people don't feel the need to get to safety.
He was also asked by Kieran about the possible idea of sleeper cell threats. They've talked about that in the United States and whether our own terror level at home is under review. This is what he had to say.
And the national terror threat level, is that under review? Well, given we hear this talk about sleeper cells in the US, is this something you're briefed on?
It is constantly monitored, but there's been no change in the national security alert. We continue to have our national security agencies to monitor the situation.
Let's catch up with National Senator Matt Canavan. Senator, the Prime Minister suggested only the usual suspects, and I'm not sure who he means, but maybe the opposition, have criticised his slow reaction on Saturday when that big operation was done by the Americans. There's a lot of us. Do you reckon the Prime Minister's got a glass jaw?
Well, he's shown that he has over many years, and the concerning thing for Australians here is that the Prime Minister has not been able to establish any kind of relationship with our most important ally in more than 6 months since Donald Trump was elected. Now, I'm not going to be too critical of the Prime Minister being sidelined over the past week. We are not a major player in the Middle East, and I suppose there's some comfort in not having to be involved in this conflict, as terrible as it is. But we do have interests in around what's happened over the past few months in the region. We have seen the United States move significant military assets from the Pacific region. A carrier strike group this week went to the Middle East. That, of course, has an impact on us. And the fact that we don't seem to have a Prime Minister that can pick up the phone or even get a meeting with the President to discuss these matters that affect our national security issues should concern all Australians. I just get the feeling, you do get the feeling here that the Prime Minister seems a little scared of meeting Donald Trump, and he's not trying all that hard. He probably breathed a sigh of relief last week when Donald Trump left the G7 and left Albanese high and dry. But for the sake of our country, I hope the Prime Minister rediscovers his confidence, because we need to get Australian issues, our security concerns, in front of our most important friend and ally as soon as possible.
Maybe Kevin Rudd wasn't such a good choice to be ambassador. He doesn't seem to be able to open doors like Joe Hockey or Kim Beazley or Arthur Sinodinos.
Well, look, I think the buck stops with the Prime Minister ultimately. It's a bit hard for me to know what Kevin is up to over there in the US. But the fact is the Prime Minister hasn't bothered even going to Washington, D.C. We've seen the Prime Ministers of other similar countries to ourselves, like the UK, Canada, have their Prime Ministers go to the Oval Office, meet Donald Trump. We are one of the Five Eyes partners, along with the UK and Canada. Why hasn't our Prime Minister done the same? I just don't think the way that President Trump operates, it would mean that anybody in the ambassador role, be it Kevin Rudd or somebody else, would be able to break down the doors here. As much as Joe Hockey did a fantastic job, it really does require the Prime Minister to take up the slack here and get himself involved.
Reportedly, Matt, there's 3,000 Australian passport holders within the borders of Iran wanting to get out. That seems like a hell of a lot of people to me. Yeah,
it does seem like a lot. Look, if they're Australian citizens, we should do what we can to help them. I very much hope that the ceasefire does hold, notwithstanding we've seen some apparent breaches of it in recent hours. It's been a scary time for the world. I'm sure even more scary for those Australians stuck within the conflict zone. It's obviously very hard for the Australian government, I'm sure, to help and assist those that are in Iran. But I would support any efforts to help any Australian anywhere in the world.
Hallelujah, Matt. You've got, believe it or not, the Democrat-dominated New York City is planning to build a large nuclear plant, the first big project of its kind in 15 years. Would you be able to perhaps let Chris Bowen know when Parliament goes back that he should perhaps go over to New York and have a look?
Well, I don't think it matters how loud we scream about these issues. Chris Bowen has his head in the sand, so he's not going to hear us. I mean, this is not surprising news. We've seen the UK Labor government champion the construction of nuclear power. We've seen Microsoft, Google, Amazon, all of them back nuclear power. Australia is the odd man out here. It seems to think it can do something that almost any other country in the world is not doing, with the exception of Germany, and they're destroying their industrial economy in Germany. They're losing industry left, right, and centre. Now we are too. And what is more concerning about our situation is that, unlike Germany, we have abundant amounts of natural resources and energy, including uranium, the world's largest uranium reserves. And how silly is it for us to export that uranium to the world, but not allow us to use it ourselves?
Crazy stuff. And, you've got the Teals and the Greens joining with Labor on this. It's just madness. You better go and let the dog in. I'll talk to you soon. Good on you, Matt. Matt Canavan, Senator Matt Canavan there.